Let's talk about nitric oxide and nitric oxide synthase and their importance. Nitric oxide is synthesized by nitric oxide synthases. Nitric oxide is synthesized when L-arginine is converted to citrulline by nitric oxide synthesis. NADPH and oxygens are the cofactors. There are three isoforms of NOS, which are NNOS, ENOS, and INOS. NNOS and ENOS are expressed in mammalian cells. The increase in intracellular calcium level and shear stress will trigger the nitric oxide synthesis. INOS activities are not influenced by calcium level changes, so it tends to produce more nitric oxide and the effect lasts longer. The production of nitric oxide through INOS can be controlled by transcription. The presence of stimulators such as the cytokines and growth factors will increase the transcription of INOS gene and increase nitric oxide production. Use of nitric oxide in cardiovascular system, it controls the blood pressure and regional blood flow. It also limits the effusions and aggregations of platelets, which inhibits the formation of blood clots. For whole defense system, macrophages, neutrophil leukocytes will produce nitric oxide with defense against viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and parasites. For nervous system, for the central and the peripheral, it enhances the neurotransmissions. For central, the long-term potentiations, plasticity. The mechanism of action of nitric oxide is caused the vasodilatations in narrow blood vessels to increase the blood flow and oxygen transport. Nitric oxide also promotes angiogenesis and also promotes the cell survival by inhibit apoptosis. It also stimulates the release of neurotransmitter.
Nitric oxide synthase is a heme protein similar to cytochrome P450. These enzymes are a family of oxidoreductases that are responsible for the synthesis of nitric oxide via the NADPH and oxygen-dependent consumption of L-arginine, with the resultant byproduct L-citrulline. As mentioned before, we have three types of isoform of nitric oxide synthase. First is neuronal nitric oxide synthase. It involves in the development of nervous system and it is a calcium ion dependent that used for neuronal communication. The second is kinase, which is inducible. Mostly affected cells, particularly macrophages, to produce large amount of nitric oxide as a defense mechanism. And it is independent of intracellular calcium ion and its regulation depends upon de novo synthesis. For the third is endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS, present on vascular endothelial cell and neuronal cells, and a calcium ion dependent. We continue with the reaction catalysts and cofactors of nitric oxide synthase. From the figure, we can see that electrons are donated by NADPH to the reductase domain of the enzyme and proceed via FAD and FMN redox carrier to the oxygenase domain. They interact with the heme ion and BH4 at the active site to catalyze the reaction of oxygen with L-arginine, generate citrulline and nitric oxide as product. Electron flow to the reductase domain require the presence of bound calcium ion calmodulin.
How nitric oxide works in the endothelium. When the smooth muscle cells surrounding the blood vessel constricted, nerve stimulation will signal the endothelium to produce nitric oxide by nitric oxide synthase. The nitric oxide will diffuse freely to the smooth muscle cell and signal the smooth muscle cell to relax. By relaxing the smooth muscle cell, it optimizes the blood flow in microcirculation. Therefore, nitric oxide is known as natural relaxant and as a best self-defense against heart disease and stroke. This explains the use of nitroglycerin in heart attack, as nitroglycerin will convert it to nitric oxide in smooth muscle cell and causes vasodilation. Now we are going to talk about nitric oxide in cardiovascular disease. The dysregulation of nitric oxide metabolism will contribute to a number of vascular diseases such as atherosclerosis and hypercholesterolemia. The main function of nitric oxide is to regulate platelet function, inhibit leukocyte activation, inhibit LDL oxidation, and prevent smooth muscle cell proliferation. And this will give to an anti-atherosclerotic effects. So, when the nitric oxide function is impaired, there will be a high level of oxidized LDL. This will trigger inflammatory signaling pathway in the endothelium and eventually lead to endothelium damage. Besides the formation of plaque at the artery wall and causing narrow and hardening of the arteries. Nitric oxide is also a potent vasodilator, which is generated from L-arginine by eNOS at the endothelium cell. It plays a role in regulating vascular smooth muscle tone as well as modulating the heart rate. The reduction in endothelial nitric oxide production will lead to impaired nitric oxide mediated vasodilation in bronchial, coronary, and renal arteries. This will contribute to endothelial dysfunction and eventually leads to hypertension. That's all from us. Thank you.